Assalamu alaikum. Hope everybody will be fine. So we will start our next topic, that is prime cost and conversion cost. Prime cost is also called the initial cost which taken place in the manufacturing of a product. Prime cost is the direct cost that is incurred in the process of manufacturing of products, and typically that includes the direct productions cost of goods, that are including the raw materials and the direct labor cost. We can also define the prime cost that the sum of direct materials and direct labor cost, that is called prime cost. Prime cost, dear students, this is generally used to denote the sum of direct material and direct labor cost. So prime cost is also called the basic or flat cost, and it's the essential part of the total manufacturing expenses, is costing and effective pricing of the goods are primarily determined on its basis. Primary or prime cost, this is a base for determining the price, including a margin for the product that is to be sold in the market. It's factors of direct cost, which means the summation of all expenses like direct cost, conversion cost, manufacturing cost. Those are directly incurred in the actual productions of goods. So any commission paid to a salesperson associated with particular sales is added also in the prime cost. The raw materials in an industry, specific components, and it may vary according to the types of the goods produced. Like a car manufacturing company of an automobiles industry required tire, glass, fiber, metals, nuts and bolts, and many other small tools is a raw materials for manufacturing a car, while direct labors in the same in all industries, and the wages paid to the workers who worked for manufacturing a car are also accumulated with the raw material cost to calculate the prime cost of a car. So any other indirect cost like selling and administration, advertisement, overhead, that is not a part of the prime cost. Prime cost is from the explanation. Now we can simply define that those costs which is taken place at initial stage of the manufacturing. So such cost is called prime cost. Manufacturing process started from the direct material, and on those direct material work in process taken place through by direct labors. And after the work in process, when the work in process are complete, so raw material are fully converted to finished goods. So the material cost and the direct labor cost. This is combinedly called this is called prime cost. Formula for the calculation of the prime cost is direct materials cost plus direct labor cost. I will explain this with the practical example. Let's suppose we have this one, the expenditures that are taken place in the year 2018 and 19. So I put some value here like 7,500 millions. The amounts are in millions. You can consider 4,250, whatever the value you are given. Direct wages of labor, let's suppose that is 3,200. Here indirect expenses 4,500. Administrative expenses, let's suppose 5,000. Financial cost, that is 15,000, and depreciation, let's suppose 3,000. So these are, let's suppose these are the total expenditure that are taken place is equals to some so look it, this is the total expenditure, $42,450. Now in these we are going to calculate the prime cost. So now formula, as we discussed, that formula for the prime cost is direct material cost and plus direct labor cost. Here let's okay, now here this is the formula, that material cost plus direct labor cost. So now if we looked out material, now from this data we will take how much is the material cost. So the raw material consumed, that is 7,500, and our direct labor cost, that is how much? Direct wages or direct labor. Instead of labors we can also write wages. So direct labor, dear students, that is according to the given data 3,200. How much will be our total prime cost? So 7,500 plus 3,200, that will be equals to 10,700. 10,700. This is my total prime cost. Only I take the cost of direct material that are used and the direct wages are that is paid to direct labor. So the sum of the material cost and direct labor cost, this is called what? This is called prime cost. Now conversion cost. So conversion cost, as its name indicates, those costs which convert raw materials to finished goods. Conversion cost can be simply defined as that conversion cost is the amount that is incurred during the transferring of raw materials, inventory into finished goods. Or conversion cost is that cost which is incurred during the transferring of or the transformation of raw materials to finished goods. In other words, dear students, keep in mind that this is the amount of the direct labor and overhead cost that are required to turn or to convert raw materials to actual product or finished goods products. So this is called conversion cost, means the combination of direct labor and overhead cost is called what? That cost is called conversion cost. Conversion cost is, I say that, consists of direct labor and overhead cost. So overhead cost and direct labor, they both have different nature. One is the direct cost, direct labors, that is of the components, cost components. Overhead is also a cost components. So overhead cost are those expenses or cost used to produce the products, and they can't be attributed directly to a production process. Take utilities for examples. Factories must use electricity to power the machine and produce the finished goods or finished products. But each dollar of electrical cost can't be directly tied back to the products that we produce. So now, after the definition, we can write the conversion cost like that. Conversion cost that is equals to direct labor cost plus overhead cost. So let's suppose, dear students, if direct labor are 10,000 and overhead is 4,000. So it means that our total conversion cost will be equals to $14,000. Hope you will understand both these prime cost and conversion cost now. Components of the factory overhead. Factory overhead, in the previous lecture we also gave touch to the factory overhead. Cost of elements, so there are basic three cost of elements: material cost, labor cost and other cost. And factory overhead, that is the type of the other cost. Factory overhead, if we define the factory overhead, so all those indirect costs which taken place in the factory for manufacturing of goods, so that cost is called factory overhead cost. Factory overhead formula was indirect material cost plus indirect labor cost plus indirect other cost. Combinedly, this is called factory overhead cost. So what indirect materials in the factory? So indirect materials in the factory, like factory supplies, lubricant and fuels, these are the common examples of what are the common examples of indirect materials: factory supplies, lubricant and fuels. So these are the common examples of the indirect materials. Like, look at, we are using machinery for the producing of finished goods. So the grease, the lubricants, the oils that are used in the machinery to produce the finished goods. So the cost of these are not directly we can assign to per unit cost. That's why these are called the indirect materials. Indirect labors. So indirect labors, two types of the labors taken place in the manufacturing process is by providing services business. One is direct, one is indirect. I explained these in detail in my previous lectures. So indirect labors, indirect wages are those labors which are directly not involved in the productions, but they are helping the manufacturing process, like supervisors' salaries, factory supervisor salaries, superintendent salaries, inspectors' team salaries, clerk salaries. So all these are indirect labors. Clear or not clear? They are, yes, they are included in the system, but they are not directly involved by producing the finished goods. Other indirect costs like rent, insurance, property tax, depreciations of the plant and machinery, repair and maintenance of the factory machinery, heat, power, light. What is the difference between power and light? Power is that electricity which is used in the factory machinery. Light is that electricity which is used in the office. So both are indirect cost. Taxes, depreciations, miscellaneous factory overhead, and etc. etc. So these are the examples of the other indirect cost. Now another topic, types of overhead cost. One is called fixed overhead, second one is called variable overhead, and next one is called semi-variables overhead cost. So, dear students, fixed overhead cost, as its name indicates, it refers to those expenses which do not vary. It means that they will remain unchanged with increase or decrease at production level. If we are increasing or if we are decreasing the productions, so it will remains unchanged, it will remains the same. The total amount of the fixed overheads remains constant with all levels of the productions. Fixed cost will remain constant in total, and they will vary or change per units with the increase or decrease in the production level. For example, factory building rents, salaries of the plant managers, insurance premiums, depreciations. If factory building rent, so the factory building rent that is fixed for some specific period of time. So if we use that building for the production, if we are increasing the production, we are decreasing the production, or either we not make any kind of the production, so business is liable to pay the factory rent. So that's why this will be fixed. Similarly, the plant manager's salary. If plant are running or not running, if we are making too much more productions on the plant or not, so company will make payments to managers salary fix. Similarly, insurance premium, we will pay the insurance. Insurance premium means if we take the insurance policy and after a specific period of time, business they are paying the insurance policy amount, that is called insurance premium. Similarly, depreciations, if we use the machinery or if we not use the machinery, if we make too much productions on that machinery or not, or less productions, we will pay the fixed depreciations. Variable overhead cost. So variable overhead cost, as its name indicates, changeable, that are change. It refers to those expenses which are change or vary with the increase or decrease in the production level. The total amount of the variable overheads change with all levels of the productions. When we are increasing productions, so total cost will increase, cost of the productions will increase. And when we produce less units, so our cost of the production will be less. So variable cost per unit is fixed, but they are vary or changeable in total output. Look at, for example, if per unit cost is $10, so if we produced 5 units, it means that our cost of the production will be 5 multiplied by 10 is equals to $50. But if I produced 100 units, so 100 multiplied by 5 is equals to 500. So total production is increased. Production cost is increased from 50 to 500, while per unit cost is remains same $5. So this type of overhead cost is called variable cost. Examples of variable cost is power, overtime, repair and maintenance, material cost, etc. and etc. Next one is semi-variables cost. This is also called semi-fixed cost. A part of these type of the overhead cost, they are fixed in some natures, and a part of this is variables. So this type of overhead cost is called semi-variables overhead. For example, telephone expenses consist of the line charges, and that are fixed per month. Telephone line charges are fixed, and call rate charges are vary. If we use more for calling purpose, so telephone bill will be high, and if we not use, let's suppose we not use for the full month, then the telephone charges will less. Why? We pay the not will be zero, because we must pay the telephone line charges. Line charges are fixed. So if we use the telephone or not use, we will pay the line charges. So line charges are fixed, and per minutes usation call charges are different. So this is that type of the cost which have both qualities of fixed as well as variables. This type of expenses, that is called semi-variables overhead expenses. Direct expenses and indirect expenses we already explained in our previous lectures, but I will give you a short touch that all costs of other than direct materials are direct labors. So these are directly charged to products and treated as a part of the prime cost. So those expenses are called direct expenses. So direct expenses means those expenses which are a part of the finished goods, and they can be treated as a part of the prime cost. For example, cost of the special patrons, drawers or tools made for the specific products, hiring charges or a special person services that we are hire a special purpose for the special purpose persons we are hiring, and we are getting the experts' opinion of that person. So the payments that should be made to that person, that is called words. That is called direct expenses. Or similarly, let's suppose we are constructing a home. So for the sketching purpose, we are hiring an engineer. So the payment that should be made to an engineer, that will be what? That is direct expenses. Indirect expenses are all costs other than indirect materials and indirect labor, which cannot be allocated or identified, but which are to be observed by the units produced. So such type of the cost, that is called indirect expenses. For example, canteen depreciations, we have a manufacturing unit and over there is a canteen. Depreciations, insurance, taxes, rents, heat, power, lights, etc. So these are called indirect expenses, indirect cost. Following are the simple formulas for calculating the prime cost. So prime cost is equals to direct material, direct labor and other direct expenses. Similarly, factory or work cost. So prime cost plus factory overhead cost. Production cost is equals to factory cost plus administrative overhead. Total cost is equal to production cost plus selling and administrative cost. These formulas that will become, that we will use in the upcoming practical questions while we are calculating the prime cost, the factory total cost, the productions cost and so on. Our next topic is, dear students, inventories for the manufacturing concerned. So the cost of the goods sold statement and these. So in the upcoming class in detail we will discuss the cost of the goods sold statement or cost of the productions and inventory of the manufacturing. For now, take care of yourself. Have a good time.